Hi class, I just wanted to give you a update on how to get your um, problem number 7 done for chapter 1. And the reason I'm helping you with this particular problem is it's probably the main part of financial accounting, and that's preparing the financial statements. And you have to prepare them in order. Now, we're not going to touch on the cash flow, but we are going to do the income statement, and then the statement of retained earnings, and then the balance sheet. So quickly, if you go into your My Accounting Lab, you'll notice that the top of this, you put in the name of the company. You'd say what kind of financial statement it is. This is the income statement. And income statements are for a period of time. So you would say for the year ended December 31st, 2014, check my answer. Nice work. Again, anytime that I get stuck, I can click on Help Me Solve This, and it will show me a problem that is similar to the one that I'm doing. And it shows me what the heading looks like. It shows me what goes into the revenues, what goes in the expenses. So you always have that tool available. So just looking at the revenues, I'm going to go to service revenues. Now, I have to click open my data table. So notice my data table is going to be right here next to me so I can access the information. And really, that's what financial accounting does. It takes data that you see in that table and you put it into a useful source of information, and that would be the financial statements. So I'm going to find the service revenue, and I can type in the dollar amount, which is in this case $106,000. And then I'm going to list the expenses. Now, the appropriate way of listing expenses in the beginning is by the highest expense to the lowest expense. So salary expense is $38,000. The next expense is the insurance expense, which is $4,600. And then finally you have an advertising expense, which is $3,500. We have to total the expenses, so there's nothing that would go in that space. Total expenses would be $46,100. And again, I have a nice calculator tool over here that if I type in those numbers and I hit this arrow, it will put it into wherever my cursor, the number wherever my cursor is at. Okay, so revenue minus expenses equals net income, 59,900. And I can check my answer, and I have my first income statement or my first financial statement done. The next statement is the statement of retained earnings. And again, we start by putting the name of the company, which income statement it is, statement of retained earnings. Again, because it's for a period of time, it's for the year ended. Check my answer. And this will begin, statement of retained earnings begins with the beginning retained earnings. So that was December 31st, 2013. Now notice, I got that information not from the data table, but up here in the beginning scenario. So you have to use both the scenario and the data table to find this information. So I'm looking, this says 32,400. I add to that the net income, which I found out when I did my income statement before. My subtotal is going to be 92,300. I have to subtract out any dividends that I paid out. So over here in my data table, it says doesn't give me dividends, but it gives me the dividends again up here in the opening scenario. I'm subtracting the dividends, and then I have my ending retained earnings, which is 67,300. Check my answer, and I go on to my balance sheet. Okay, balance sheet, same idea. Begin with the name of the company. It's a balance sheet. Balance sheets differ because They actually are for a specific date. So it would be December 31st. Check my answer. Nice work. The balance sheet, if you look in your textbook or help me solve this, has your assets, which for us, we do it in the order of the most liquid asset, which means how fast can you convert it to cash. Cash is obviously the most liquid. Accounts receivable and equipment. And then I would total these up. Check my answer. And I have something in here that's not quite right. So, oh, I forgot to put in the dollar amounts. So the nice thing is you get 3 opportunities before it will actually mark it wrong. And then if you have a period of time that you get a number of things that are wrong, you can always go back and redo the problem. Accounting is all about repetition. Okay, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Okay, I'll move my calculator over. Here are my liabilities. Anything that says payable is a liability. Okay, so that's important that you look and see where does it say a payable. So accounts payable, 2,400. And then they have a notes payable of 10,000. I'm going to add these together. This time I'll use the calculator just to show you how that works. Plus 10,000. Okay, equals, and put it into the, by clicking on this button right here, I put it in there. Okay, stockholders' equity is made up of common stock and retained earnings, which we calculated in the previous financial statement. Common stock for this company was 30,000. The retained earnings we calculated is 67,300. Add those two together, 97,300. And when we add the liability and the stockholders' equity together, it will be the same amount as the assets if we've done everything correctly. And so it says, well done. So we've done our first 3 financial statements.